let's do the review for your exam 3. There are 2 things in your exam, right? One is what? Pattern recognition, which includes what? Sequences and series, right? Another one is the conic system, which is what? Parabolas, circles, ellipses, and hyperbolas. Okay, so we are going to draw those pictures. At the same time, we are going to find if 2 of them are system of nonlinear equations, and we are going to find where do they meet, intersect, right? So we need to know the basic things. First, the formats for the standard forms and the basic examples, right? So for the lines, is what? Like 2x, okay? Say, like line is, say, 2x plus 3y equals, say, 6, things like that, right? Line. Then form is what? You have standard form is ax plus by equals 0, or you can write y equals what? mx plus b, right? So that's for the line. You only have what? X is 1 power, y is 1 power. So it goes straight. Then parabolas means what? It curves, right? So we have what? If it curves on the x, then y equals x squared. And or we say x equals, this is a sideways parabola, this one is not a function, right? That's the basic one. X is the square, y is linear, right? So when we graph it, we can use either the standard form, which is what? X is the second power, right? Of course, a is not equal to 0, right? So then, or you can have vertex form, which is what? A x minus h squared plus k, right? So hk is your vertex. A, if it opens up, positive, it opens down, negative, right? And it also stretches wider or thinner. Then for the circles, we have what? Like x squared plus y squared equals what? 9r squared. Radius is 3, right? Or even you can write it 4x squared plus 4y squared equals 36. They are the same, right? You can write it this way. Or you can say x squared over 9 plus y squared over 9 equals 1. This is the same, right? Divided by 9. That means A and B are the same. Then you have a circle. So basic form is what? At the center 0, 0, right? Not a shifting. That would be what? R squared, okay? Or we can write x squared over r squared plus y squared over r squared equals 1. We can do that as well, right? That means A and B are the same. So you don't have ellipse. You have what? A circle. Ellipses A and B are different, right? So we can have what? 4x squared plus 9y squared equals 36. Or you divide by 36, you end up 9 plus, say, y squared 4 equals 1. Then A is 3, B is 2, right? So the format at the center would be what? Square plus. Is that right? It's ellipse, right? This one is a circle. This one is ellipse. Then for hyperbola, you have what? Instead of plus, so you might have 4x squared minus 9y squared equals 1, right? Not 1, say 36. When you divide it by 36, would be x squared, 9 minus what? Y squared, 4 equals 1. They are the same, right? So A is 3, B is 2. Or if you have a 9y squared minus 4x squared equals 36, that means what? Y squared over 4 minus x squared over 9 equals 1. But it's y squared minus x squared instead of x squared minus y squared. What's the difference? For the hyperbolas, one is left and right, one is up and down, right? So if x squared over a squared minus y is a negative, then it's left and right. If y is a positive minus x squared, a squared is 1, that would be what? Up and down. So this is the basic conic systems we are dealing with, right? So you might draw the pictures for those, or you find the intercepts for different shapes between different graphs, right? So for those, let's summarize them together this way, okay? We always like to do things we call unified theorem, okay? It means what? We try to put all the things in one format instead of, okay, all different types. If we write it this way, right? We write it this one, so it's like ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus e equals 0, okay? So in science, we all have a tendency to find, unify the theorem. That means we try to find one size fits all. Just like for the medicine, we hope we can find one magic pill can fix all the problem. That's just an idea, right? But for math or for physics, we say, gravity can answer all the questions, or, black hole or gravitational field. These type of things can explain the most phenomena, right? So we want to fit in all those things. Like x you have square, or y you have square, or xy just one power. Like this one, you have square here, right? So you have x is a square here, then this is just invisible one, right? Then along the way, you have A, B, C, D, E. If we write it this way, depend on the condition of the coefficients, then you can determine this line, this equation will fit in which one, okay? So we try to combine all those situations into one situation, then depend on the, variations of the coefficients, right? So we just want to summarize our thinking, right? It's not important in this class, but later on in pre-cal and calculus, it might play some roles for you to figure out things, to differentiate things, okay? So if we say, all right, if we want to have a line, then what kind of A, B, C, D is possibly B, right? So for lines, you cannot have x squared and y squared. That means what? For a line, then A and B, mainly we talk about A and B, right? For A and B, so A has to be what? 0, B has to be 0. So square is gone, you only have cx plus dy, right? It's like an ax plus by equals c, right? So if for a line, A and B have to be 0, right? Then for a parabola, doesn't matter open upside down, right? So let's see what will happen to the A and B. Parabolas for a function, y equals x squared, like this. X has to be squared, y has to be just what? 1 power, right? So you move everything to the left-hand side, then there is no y squared. So what happened? If up and down, right, that would be what? There is no y squared. Only has a squared, right? So it means what? A has to be not 0, B has to be 0, okay? Or if left and right parabola, that would be what? A has to be 0, B cannot be 0. It would be this situation, right? Only one of them. Okay, so it means what? One of the A and B is 0, but not both. That's the condition. When you have these equations, bunch of x squared, y squared, and xy, then A and B, just one of them is 0. Okay, not both. So if we write this one equation, then depends on A and B condition, then you can decide, okay, do I have lines or do I have parabolas? Then let's talk about circle, okay? For the circles, see, you have to have x squared, y squared. It doesn't matter for the 1 power, C and D. Mainly, we are talking about the conditions of A and B, right? Then let's take a look. So A and B, both of them cannot be 0, right? So A cannot be 0 and B cannot be 0. So we talk about A and B conditions to decide these equations can be one of those things, right? However, okay, take a look. If it's a circle, you have to be what? Here is 1, right? In front of x squared, y squared, A and B have to be 1, or they can be the same. You can divide over, right? They cannot be 0 at the same time, what? A equals B, right? A and B have to be the same. If they are different, see, like here, it becomes what? An ellipse instead, right? So that's for the circle. For the ellipses, take a look. Like here, A and B, right? They are different. So first of all, you have to decide A and B cannot be 0, right? If they are 0, then one of them is 0, then that will become what? Parabola. So A and B are not 0. When they are not 0, then, but it's a plus, right? It will be what? Plus. That will be an ellipse. So A and B are not 0, and they are not the same, right? If they are the same, that would be the circle, okay? So A cannot be the same as B. At the same time, A, B have the same signs. If they different sign, one is a positive, one is a negative, then it becomes what? A hyperbola, right? If one is both are negative, you can just divide by negative number and to find out, so end up still plus here. Okay, and that's the condition. So for the hyperbola, right? Hyperbola, that means what? A and B different cannot be 0. You have to have what? X squared and y squared. So in front of them, AB cannot be 0. And okay, A and B can be the same as long as it's like x y squared equals 1, like this. Okay, this would be what? A hyperbola. A and B, A is 1, B is negative 1. So they have what? Different signs. Okay, so condition is what? A and B have different signs. One is what? Positive, one is negative. Okay, so that's the condition and situation with the, we say, okay, a universal equation with AB in front of x squared and y squared, it can determine what kind of a shape and curves we are working with. All right, so that's the situation. Then, besides graphing, we are also going to find the intercepts. Okay, so let's take a look at the examples. Okay, so I'm going to erase this, then do some examples. On your second problem, x squared plus y squared equals 25. Okay, before we graph it, okay, one of those things for the comic system, we see where do they meet, okay? First, you have to decide which shape it will be. X squared plus y squared. It's a plus, so either it's a circle or an ellipse, right? And A and B are the same, so both is what? x squared plus y squared equals what? 5 squared, right? So it will be 5, 5, 5, 5. So a circle. Right? And for the next one, what do you think it is? X and Y, no square, no square, aligned. So you use your t-table. So xy, x0, y is 1, y is 0, x is -1, right? So that will be 0 and 1 and -1 and 0, right? So when you graph a line, you will go like this. Okay? So at least you can visualize how many solutions you should find. What do you think? How many places do they meet? 2 places, right? Then you have to solve it algebraically to find the right answer. So we say when we combine them, we can use elimination method by adding or substitution. If you add them, can you get rid of one variable? You cannot. So we say, okay, let's just use a substitution, right? If you cannot use elimination. So we will get a y by itself. So I'm going to add x. So my y is what? X plus 1, right? Y equals x plus 1. I'm going to replace back, substitute back to the first one. So my x squared is x squared. Y becomes what? X plus 1 squared equals what? 25. Then you, by substitution, you make 2 variables, 2 equations become what? 1 variable, 1 equation. Then we try to solve it, right? X squared plus, don't just give me x squared plus 1 for this. You have to FOIL, okay? So we have what? 2x squared plus 2x, you minus 25 on both sides, minus 24 equals 0, right? Then a quadratic equation. You can use the quadratic formula, or you can just factor it, right? Then 2 number will work, will be plus 4 minus 3 equals 0, right? Then 2, you just divide by 2. You can ignore that one because we are solving the variable. X is what? -4, x is 3. That's for your x. But when we solve it, we have to find the ordered pairs. So x is -4, you plug in, y is what? Negative, negative, that would you plug in here, right? 4 plus y equals 1, y is what? -3. So that means what? Your x and y is -4 and -3, right? Then this one you plug in x -3, you move, so y is what? 4. So this one will be x and y will be what? 3 and 4. And let's take a look. The picture, see if it works. Here will be what? 3 and 4. Here will be what? -4 and -3. Those are the points and solutions for your nonlinear system equations. One is linear, one is a circle, nonlinear. Right? Are we good? So you will have one of those problems on your exam for sure. Okay? All right. Let's keep this for reference. Then let's graph some of them. Okay? So for the third one, what is definition of the circle? We just say, okay, it will look like this. Okay? Or you can write a what? X squared over R squared plus Y squared over R squared equals 1. That's a center in the middle, in a 0, on a 0, 0, right? Or if we shift to HK, you will be like this. Okay, or we can write equals 1. We always like to do that, right? Divided by y. Okay, square. If A and B are the same, you have a circle instead of an ellipse, right? So that's your standard for the circle. And if we have this one, we say graph it. Okay, what do you think? Then we write at the beginning as we have x squared, a squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus c, plus e, right? Remember at the beginning, a, b, c, d, e, the coefficients. We move everything to the left-hand side. Then we know it's a circle because a and b are not 0 and a equals b. Then we need to complete a circle by doing this, right? We put x together, we put y together, we move number to another side, then we try to complete a square, right? So x plus something square, y something square, right? Right now, so far, is this way. Then which number we need for x? Half of b. Then we need the y squared. It's 1. So you do one side, you do another. And this one is minus 4. Half of a negative 4 is minus 2. To complete the square, take a negative 2 square is what? 4. So you plus 4. Right? So what do we have here? Plus 1 plus 4. So we end up with this equation, x plus 1 squared minus y minus 2 squared equals what? 9 is what? 3 squared. Then now you can see for sure it's a circle. Then how do we graph it? Then the center will be what? HK, right? The opposite. And HK, so your center will be, opposite will be negative 1 and 2. The radius will be what? 3. Can you do the circle? Then to graph it, then you have to specify all the 4 corners and the center, right? So let's see. I will have what? Negative 1 and 2, right? Negative 1 and 2. That will be the center. Then radius is what? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? So that would be the circle. Then you need to clarify how far you go. So you need to specify 4 corners. So that will be 2, y is 2. That will be 2, 2. That will be what? Negative 4 and 2, right? Then this up to 3, negative 1, 5. Down 3, negative 1 and negative 1. Is that right? Okay? So that would be one of the graphs you might do. We might ask you to do hyperbolas, right? Or ellipses, or even parabolas. Okay, so you need to go back and take a look all your notes and some of your homework you still have problem with, you better do it again. Okay, so next one, let's review. So what do you think the shape is? That will be here, right? It will be a parabola. Then when we do the parabola, we have to do our t-table with what? How many points? 5 points. Then you have to decide where is your vertex in the middle, right? It's a standard form, not a vertex form. Then what do you need to do? Find your vertex. So where is your vertex? We say vertex is what? Negative b over 2a, right? So negative 6 over 2 times 3. So negative 1. Okay? Then you plug in here, negative 1, that will be 3 minus 6 plus 1. What do you have? Negative 2, right? Then you will find at least 0, 1, negative 2, negative 3. You should find all this point. 0 is 1, and 1 will be 10. So should be symmetric as well, right? Should be symmetrical. So if you graph it, so you have what? Negative 1, negative 2. Negative 1, negative 2. 0 and 1, 0 and 1, right? Negative 2 and 1, right? And 1 is what? 10, somewhere there. So your graph would be what? A parabola, and A is bigger than 1, positive, so it opens up. Then bigger than 1, so it stretches thinner, right? Then we also will ask you a bunch of questions. Okay, what's the line of symmetry, right? So which is x equals this one, negative 1. Then we will also ask you, what's your x-intercept and y-intercept, right? So we say for x-intercept, y will be 0. For y-intercept, x would be 0. So for x is 0, y-intercept would be easier. X is 0, y is what? 0, and y is 1. So that will be your y-intercept. Then how many x-intercept we should have? We should have what? 2 intercepts, right? 2 x-intercepts right here. Then we have to find it, right? 2 numbers here. For x-intercept, y needs to be 0. So you just plug in y 0. So 0 equals 3x squared plus x, right? So we have a quadratic equation, but we cannot factor it. Then how do we find the x? We say x equals what? Use quadratic formula. Negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a, right? So you plug in, then what do we have? We should have b is 6, negative 6 plus minus b squared, 6 squared minus 4a is 3, c is 1 over 2a, right? Then what do we have? 6 squared, 36 minus 12 is 24. So negative 6 plus square 24 over 2 times 3 is a 6, right? So what do we write? Write it separately, plus minus. You can use the calculator, find the rough positions. But when we answer the order the pairs, we need accuracy. So you cleaned up 2, 4, it will be what? You need to simplify your radicals, right? If you cannot simplify your radicals, and you will get some deductions. So what do we have? We have -1 plus minus, right? 1/3 of square root of 6. Okay? So if you know, just for the purpose, for now, we can use decimals, but later on pre-calc calculus, you have to use radicals. Okay, so the answer is what? -1 plus square root of 6 over this. This is your x paired up with 0, right? So that would be one of the position. Another one is -1 minus square root of 3 paired up with 0. Okay, so if you use your calculator, you will find out, let's see, what kind of number is that? That's about -0.1835 paired up with 0. This one is about -1.8165 paired up with 0. Okay, so you can see one of the position is here. So that position will be what? About -0.18350 paired up with 0, right? Then this position will be what? About -1.81650. So it's about that position, right? So we just did what? Graphing a parabola again by finding the what? Vertex by using -b/2a, right? Then for finding the intercepts, you do need to use what? Quadratic formulas to do that. Okay, let's review some patterns on your page 3. So we're talking about the patterns are sequences and series, right? By adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing to get next sequential numbers. So for arithmetic sequences, what's the formula for general term? So AN is what? A1 plus what? N minus 1 times D, right? Then for the series, for the sum, add all the 1 through nth term, what do we need? It's n divided by 2, A1 plus AN, right? Then for arithmetic sequences, S infinity doesn't exist, right? So to deal with this, we need what? A1, we need D, we need N, and AN, right? For the geometric sequences, AN is what? A1 because it is by ratio, by multiply things into the 1 power, right? Then we need A1, we need R common ratio, and N and AN general term, right? Then for the series Sn, what's the formula? Okay, so it would be what? A1 times what? For the nth, total nth term is 1 minus R to the nth, right? 1 minus R. And for this one, right? R cannot be what? R cannot be 1. Right? R can be positive, can be negative. Also, for the infinity, okay, there are two kinds, right? One is doesn't exist. Another one is what? Equals A1 over what? 1 minus R. Different condition, right? And for when R, if absolute value R is less than 1, that means the sequence is going to be smaller and smaller, then reach to 0, then we can find the series. But when R is bigger than absolute value, bigger than 1, getting bigger and bigger, it doesn't exist, right? R cannot be 1 anyway. So either smaller than 1 or bigger than 1. Situation like this. If it's equals 1, actually you cannot find the series, right? So let's see. Take a look for all those formulas. How many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Total 7 of them. You need to figure out which one you want to use. Then decide to find the sequences or the series. Right? So we are here on your page 3, right? It says for number 6, if we ask you what is the difference between a sequence and a series. So what is a sequence? A sequence is what? A set of things, right? We use the numbers. A set of numbers and following a pattern. Right? And what is a series? Series is what? Not all the terms. It is you add all the terms together. The terms of a sequence. Right? Then if we ask you what is a arithmetic sequence, it's by adding a number to get a next term for the pattern, right? So you can say it is a sequence that is what? Formed by adding numbers, right? Adding a same number, the same amount, we call them what? We use D. We call them common difference. To each term to get to the next term, right? Then how would you describe a geometric sequence? It would be what? It is a sequence with the pattern that is formed by what? Instead of adding, we do what? Multiplying, right? The same number, we call it R, common ratio, to get what? Next term, right? So then let's find some numbers. For the first one, some of them is geo, some of them is arithmetic. you have to decide, okay? So A1 is 4 and D is 6. We want you to find A11. So what do you think? If we show you D, that means what? Common difference is for arithmetic, right? Sequence. Then find a general term. A11 is what? A1 plus n minus 1 times D. A1 is 4. N is what? So let's write it down. A1 is 4. D is 6. Then our N is what? 11 to find A11, right? So A11 is what? A1, 4 plus n minus 1, 10 position away, right? 11 minus 1 times D is 6. So what is? We should have 64, right? Next one, let's take a look. So if we have A1 is -1, then we say A7 is 11. What is our D? Right? So the formula N is what? This one is A7, right? So we have A1 and N is what? 7. A-N, 7 is 11, right? So we say A-N is, write it down, A1, N minus 1D, right? Then we don't know the D, but we know A7. A7 is 11 equals A1 negative 1. N is what? 7. 7 minus 1, here is plus, right? Times D. So we have 11 equals -1 plus 6D. D is what? 2. Right? So you have several positions. A1, D, N, and AN. So we will give you, most of them. Then and missing one, then you need to find it. Okay, if we have this one, 5, 2, -1, all the way to -43, then we don't know how many N is we ask you about, right? Then you have to decide, do you have arithmetic or geometric sequences? Okay, you have to decide that first. So we check the D if it's possible. -3, oh, it works, right? So then we know we are going to use arithmetic sequence for, so we know A1 is -5, D is what? 2 minus 5, right? It's -3. We know AN last term, general, right? -3, but we don't know the N. So try to find it. So we plug in AN equals, you will rewrite this formula, right? On the side or on the question, so you can plug in. AN is -43, A1 is 5, we don't know the N, and -1, D is what? -3, is that right? So we have -43 equals 5 plus, distribute 3 plus 3, right? So that's A, move over, -51 is -3N. So what do we have N? N is 17, right? Manageable, right? If you sort it out, which is which, and what do you try to achieve with different formulas. Usually you get, general concepts. Then somehow you can do it, but sometimes you get confused. Okay? So we want to find the A25. So this one, N is 25. We need to find the A25. But we need A1 and D, right? Need A1 and D to do that. But we do have A1 is -1. Do we have D? We don't. But we can use A7, right? A7 equals what? A1 and -1 and D to find the D, because you have to go to, go 6 positions to get there. Then you should be able to find it by plugging. A7 is 11, A1 is -1 plus what? 6D. So what do we have? D is 2. If we know the D, we can find the 25, right? So A25 is what? A1 plus 25 minus 1, D away, right? So A1 is -1 plus 24 times D. 24D is 2, so that would be what? 47. Good? Manageable. As long as you can tell, you try to apply arithmetic formulas or geometric formula, right? Next one, if we try to add them together, try to find the sum, then we will use a series, right? So for this one, we have to decide geo or arithmetic. Let's see, plus 9. So we have arithmetic sequence. So S19 would be what? N over 2 A1 plus AN, right? So N is what? 19 over 2, A1 is 2. Then what is AN? AN means what? N is 19, right? 19. So we need to find the what? A19 here, A19. Do we have A19? Not yet. So how do we find the A19? A19 would be what? A1 plus N minus 1. 19 minus 1. 18 positions away from the first one by the D, right? Which is 9. So you multiply them. So what do we have? We have 160. Let me see, 18 times 9. So we have 164. Then we will put the 164 here to find the sum. Then you do your math. You should get 1577. All right. So if on the test I ask you to write a summation, okay, for this one, total 19 of them, how would you write with the sigma notation? Okay, it would be what? N is 1 to how many? 19 of them, right? Then what do you put? You put an AN here, general term. So it would be N is 119. What is your AN? AN supposed to be A1 plus N minus 1 of D, right? A1 is 2, and N is general term right now to write it inside. N minus 1, what's the D? Did we find the D? 9, right? Then you simplify, that would be what? Let me see. Okay, so that would be -7 plus 9n. Is that right? 9n minus 7. Okay, so you will put the general term 9n minus 7 here to write the sigma notation this way. Okay? If you can use index I equals 1. If you use I, that would be what? 9i minus 7. Is that right? Okay, so one of the questions on your exam would be, you will be asked to write a summation notation. We just give you an example here. That's how you will do it. All right. Okay, let's do some geo things. Then on your page 4, and find the indicate unknown for each geometric sequence or series. Okay, so 9, 3, 1, find A9, we ask you. Okay, so is this a geo? Then if it's geometric, what's your R? So your 3 times divided by 9, you better simplify, right? It's 1/3. So for A9 would be what? A9 here, right? It's A1R to the 9 minus 1. So A1 is 9 times R is what? 1/3 to the 8th power. Okay, you better simplify and multiply out and cancel the 9. You should get this. Okay, let me just write it out for you so you can double check. Okay, so when you cancel, this will be 7, 2, 9. So you should have what? 1, 8, 7, 2. That would be your answer. All right. Next one, A1 is 5. A5 is what? 0.128. We want you to find R, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So first one is 5. The 5th one is this one. Then what's your R? Right? It's geo. We know A1, we don't know the R, but we do know the N in AN, right? So N is what? The 5th one. AN is what? 0.128, right? A5 will be that. Then we can plug in here. So A5 is what? A1 times R. We don't know the R. And 5 minus 1, right? So you plug in A5 is 0.128. A1 is 5 to the R to the 4th power. Then we need to find the base. Get the base by itself. So you divide it by 5. Then what do we have? We have 0.0256 equals R to the 4th power. Right? Then what's your R? You have to take what? 4th root, right? Then you take 0.256, take a 4th root. If you do that, you will only get a half credit. Why? Even root property, we need to have what? Plus or minus. Okay, first you need to pay attention to this. Then also you need to figure out how to do the 4th root. You need to do what? Power. Then 4th root means what? Quarter power. It's 0.0256 to the quarter power, right? Is that right? 4th root. So with plus minus, that would be what? Plus minus 0.4. So that's your R. If you only have positive, you only get what? Half credit. Okay? Take a look. First one is a 5. You times, if it's a positive 0.4, right? Your first R. So next one will be what? 5 times 0.4 is 2. Then times 0.4, 0.8, right? times 0.4, 32 times 0.4 would be what? Right? So first one is 5, last one is a fifth, would be 0.128. What happened? R is a negative 0.4. Let's take a look. First one is 5, next one is negative 2, then multiply negative, next one is 0.8, next one is what? Negative 0.32, then times again 0.138. So first one is still 5, last one still 0.128. So R can be what? Two of them that will work. Is that right? Right? Okay. Let's look at the next one. So if we have 16, 24, 36, 2, 4, 3 over 2. We have so many, and we say how many? How you are going to find? Okay, so first you check if it is geometric sequence. So R equals 24 divided by 16. So you simplify it. Will be 3/2, right? How about 36 divided by 24? Would that work? So divided by 12, still 3/2. So R is what? 3/2. Then last term, you don't know. So you know the R, you know A1 is a 16. You know AN is what? General term all the way to the end, but we don't know the end. We can use this, right? So AN equals what? A1 times R to the n minus 1. So if we do that, what do we have? AN is 2, 4, 3 over 2. R is what? 3/2, right? Equals, oops. AN equals, right? A1, where is my A1? 16 times R. Do we know the R? Yes. 3/2. N, do we know the N? We don't. So it's n minus 1. Right? How do you solve that? You need to get the exponent things by itself. So we multiply by 116. Multiply by 116. We can just do that. Right? Then what do we have? We will have 2, 4, 3 over 32 equals 3/2 and n minus 1. And let's see if we can do something about it, right? So this one is what? 2 to the 5th power. This one is what? 3 to the 5th power, right? You do your trees. So actually you have 3/2 to the 5th power equals what? 3/2 to the n minus 1. So what do you think your n is? 5 is n minus 1. N would be what? 6. Is that right? That's how you would do it. Okay? So sometimes we ask you to find n or an. Sometimes we ask you to find a1, right? Sometimes we ask you to find what? R. So. Okay, let's see. A, B, C, D. Okay, A, B, C. Okay. And we are here, D. So we say A4 is 0.32. And A5 is 0.128. We ask you, what is your A1, right? So A1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So fourth one is this one. The fifth one is this, but we don't know this, A1. We don't know A1. Do we know R? No. We don't know that either. But we can, it tells you is geometric sequence, so we should be able to find R because multiply this to be that, right? 4th would be the 5th. So you do division. Then you get what? 0.4. If you get a 0.4 for your R, what's your A1? Then we know A4, we can use this, right? A4 equals A1 R to the 4 minus 1, right? A4 equals A1 R 4 minus 1. So A4, we have 0.32, and A1, we don't know, we try to find. R is 0.4 to the 3rd power, right? Then you do your math, then 0.32 equals A1 times what? 0.064. Now you divide it. A1 is what? 5. Okay, you can use A4 to do it, or you can use A5 to do it. A5 would be what? A1, we just practice it again. A5 is what? A1 times R to the 5 minus 1. A5 is what? 0.128. We don't know A1, but we do know the R is 0.4 to the 4th power. If you do this way, then you have this one, A1, that one is 0.0256. Okay? Then you find out your A1 is what? Same thing. You can just use either one of them to do it. Okay? Next one, find the sum of 4, 5, 15, 5, plus that means what? We need to find S infinity. So first we decide, do we have a geometric sequence, right? So this one will be what? Times 15 divided by 45, 1/3. Will that work? Yes. Right? So you have to decide S infinity, does it exist or doesn't exist? See? Since 1/3 is less than 1, right? When it's less than 1, yes, you can find your S infinity using that formula, right? Equals A1 divided by 1 minus R. So A1 is 45, 1 minus R is what? 1/3, right? So you have 45 divided by 2/3. Then you simplify that. You should get 135 over 2. Okay? Let's look at the next one. We have write a general term. This one is not, arithmetic sequence nor geometric sequence, right? So it's not by multiplying or adding. It's just 2, 3, 4, 5. So you just have to do it, okay, by observation. So what do we have? AN equals what? The bottom, A, when n is 1, it's 2. N is 2, it's 3. So it's n plus 1, right? The denominator is what? 1 more than the position. The top one, -1, +1, -1, +1. So it started from here, -1 to the nth power. 1 power will be negative, 2 power will be positive. Will that work? That's all you need to do. It's not that obvious, but you should be able to handle it, right? Okay, let's look at the next one. We'll give you a sigma notation. Then we ask you to do this. Means what? You need to add them up. Is that right? All you have to do just plug in. When I is 1, that be 1, 2 times 1 plus 1. When I is 2, will be 2 times what? 2 plus 1. Is that right? When I is 3, will be 3 times 2 times 3 plus 1. When I is 4, will be 4 times what? 2 times 4 plus 1. You just plug in. Then you add them up, you should get a 70. Okay? So all we ask you to do is just understanding these symbols, then how to apply it, just plug in, right? Next one, write this using summation notation. So we are practicing the summation notation right now. So how many terms we have? 5. And it's geo or arithmetic. Let's see, I applied times 3, so it's geo, right? For this one, find the summation notation means what? Sigma n is 1 to how many? 5. Then you need to find the an general term. Then what is your an? An is this one, right? A1 Rn minus 1. A1 is what? 4. R is what? 3, right? That's your Rn minus 1. So all you need to do is what? Just write n equals 1 to 5. Then you just put the 3 n minus 1 for your general term. That's all you need to do. Or you can use index I, right? If you do that, you just do 3i minus 1. Is that right? That's your general term. It means what? General n is 1 or 2 or 3, 4, 5. When you plug in, you should get this sequence and then sum it with sigma notation. Right? So we are practicing the summation notation. Okay? Then let's do some apps. Some of them are geo, some of them are arithmetic. You just decide, okay? So number 14, page 5. It says, it is mosquito season and the population of little pests is growing rapidly. In fact, each day, the population is 5 times larger than the day before. If the first day there are 800 of them, all annoying the innocent citizens of South Lake Tahoe, then says, how many are there on each of the first 4 days? Right? So first day is 800, then next time is 5 times larger. So times 5, that would be 4,000. Then next one times 5 would be 20,000 now. Next day would be 100,000. That's terrible, right? So we want you to write a general term. It's geometric. A1 is 800. R is what? 5. How do we write an? Here, right? An equals A1 R to the n minus 1. So we will write an is 800. R is 5 to the n minus 1. That's all you need to do. Okay? Next one. Jose takes a job that offers a monthly starting salary of $4,000 and guarantees him a monthly raise of $125 during his first year of training, monthly, right? Find the general term of his sequence. So what we are saying, he started from $4,000, not too bad. Then plus 125. So next month he should have this, and next month do it again. He should have 4250. Next month he should have 4375, and on, right? So do we have arithmetic or geometric? By adding. So it's arithmetic sequence, right? With the D is what? 125. So general term, we should use this, right? A1, 4,000 plus what? N minus 1 times D, 125. So it should be what? 125N plus 3875. So that would be your answer, right? Next one. What was his monthly salary at the end of his training? How long is his training? First year of training, right? So what do we need to do? So the end of training, so at the end of 12th month, right? 4,000 is beginning of the first month. So end of 12th month, that's the thing. It will be what? The beginning of the what? 13th month. So you have to decide what's your N. N is 12 or 13. Actually, N is 13. I'm not going to test you this on the test. All right, this is for money people, right? For those people in the business world, they better figure out the end of the month or beginning of the month. So, but that's not for the purpose of math. All right. And so what should we do? So we should find A13, not A12. Okay, so A13 is what? 4,000 plus 13 minus 1 times 125. So at the end of month, after the training, each month, he should make next year would be $5,500 per month. Okay? Not, N is not a 12, it's a 13. That's the point. Okay? Just for those business major, they need to pay attention to those. All right, next one. On your page 6. During an aggressive advertising campaign, the Super Duper espresso stand sold 80 triple shot espressos and to suspect students during the first day of the final week. The campaign was so effective that on each of the following days, they sold more than 60 triple shot espressos that the previous day, right? Than the previous day. If the final week was actually 14 days long, then use partial sum formula. Partial sum formula is SN, finite sum, to find the total amount of triple shot espressos that were sold during the first 2 weeks, right? So you start from 80, then next day would be what? 60 more. That's a lot, right? Next time will be 60 more, 200, and so on. So which sequence we are talking about? Arithmetic or geometric? right? With D, that would be arithmetic. So A1 is what? 80. Your D is what? 60. How many days? 14 days. So what was the question? Find the total amount of shot they have sold, right? So we need to find the S14. So we use this formula. 14 over 2. A1 is what? 80 plus what? A14, right? Do we have A14? Not yet. We need to find the A14 with the sequence formula. So A14 is what? A1 plus n minus 1 and D, right? A1 is 80 plus 14, that's 13. D is 60. So the 14th day, they were selling how many? 860 triple shots. That's crazy, right? So we plug in 780 plus A14, it's A60, right? So total would be 6580 total. So triple shot was sold during that time, right? To find the what? The sum. Okay? Let's look one more. Number 17. Let's take a look. On a trip to South Lake Tahoe, Matilda foolishly gave up skiing to go gambling one day. On top of that, she tripled her bet each time she lost. If her first losing bet was $10, then use the partial sum formula, means finite sum, to calculate how much she would lose if she lost 8 hands in a row. So 10, the next time she bet what? Her bets was, next time would be $30 3 times, right? Times 3. Next time what? $90 times 3. How many total? 8 times, right? So we have A1 is 10. Should we have R or should we have D? Triple, right? So we should have R is 3 times. N is what? 8, right? We don't know AN. AN is what? 8, right? But we are going to find what? How much she will lose total after 8 times. So we want to find the S8, right? We should use this for Geo. So S8 would be what? A1, 1 minus R to the N, right? Over 1 minus R. So we plug in. Plugging is easy, but you use which one, then you have to decide the meaning of each symbol, right? That's 10. 1 minus R is what? 3. N is what? 8, right? So 1 minus 3. Is that right? So you should have 10 times negative 6560 over negative 2. You should have 32,800. Give it the dollars. That's what we're talking about. Instead of going skiing, if she bet, she has a lot of money apparently, and she will lose 32,800. That's a lot, right? In a few minutes, they can just lose so much. Okay? So we just practice the sequences and series. Are we okay for your exam 3? Study, right? So you should be okay, okay? So that will be our review for your exam 3.